Hey up guys, it's the Yorkshire Pudding. This is my Old School RuneScape skilling tier list where I'll be ranking skills based on how fun they are to train, how useful they are in game, and what I think other people's feelings are generally towards each skill as a community. Disclaimer, this is a tier list for regular RuneScape accounts, not Iron Men, because as an Iron Man a lot more of the skills are actually generally useful, such as crafting, woodcutting, fishing, mining, etc. Yeah, they're a lot more useful as an Iron Man than they are as a regular account. In regular Old School RuneScape, I'd argue that the majority of the skills are actually useless, let's face it, if you ignore quests and achievement diary requirements, of course. I mean, if you need logs, ores, bars, fish or runes, you can just chop trees, mine rocks, smith bars, fish in RuneScape seas or rivers, turn essence into runes, or just buy them on the GE. I mean, it's a lot easier that way. Just look at fishing, for example. You can either fish up 2,000 lobsters to use in combat training, or you can just sell them to the GE and buy better food like sharks, or train a different skill altogether that has a higher GP per hour and use that money to buy sharks instead. I mean, who are we kidding here? Despite this, I'm going to try not to penalise useless skills in this tier list too much, but rather reward the useful ones by scoring them higher. Let's start off with combat skills. So we've got attack and strength, solid A tier. I mean, not only are there some of the most useful skills in game, there's plenty of different ways to train them, from bossing, slayer to nightmare zone. They're not too slow to train either, and since combat skills are usually one of the more fun ways to train in RuneScape, hours can literally fly by. So yeah, I'm going to place them in A tier. I'm going to put Slayer here too, because I know I'll be on people's hit list if I dare to score it any lower. I'm personally not too much of a fan of it, but I can understand why people like it. After all, it's many people's favourite skill, it gives you a ton of money, and it's arguably one of the most profitable skills to train to 99. Gives you access to extra bosses as well, which I think is a nice touch. You can also train in different locations. Even if you're given the same monster to kill, you can choose to kill that monster in a different dungeon, or opt for the boss version of the monster, for example Jad instead of Tazars, or Calphite Queen instead of the little level 22s. But if you did want to get the task over, you could just dwarf cannon the level 22s as well, so yeah, there's quite a bit of flexibility in that. I can see why a lot of people like it. The only problem for me now is I've maxed my combat stats, and I just want to focus on killing bosses and doing raids, but I've still got to grind out quite a few levels as Slayer, knowing that I'm getting 0 XP in combat, which is not the best feeling. For me, Slayer's just a bit too slow to train. I wouldn't mind if they increase the XP rates a bit, but I understand that people don't want it to become easy escape. But I think a good idea would be to give players a small amount of XP whenever they kill a boss in game, regardless or not of whether you're on the task. For example, you'll only receive about a quarter of the XP as you would if you were on task, and you'll obviously get no Slayer points whilst doing it, and the Slayer helm obviously wouldn't give you the benefits that it usually does. You just get a bit of XP. It'll definitely not be an efficient way to train Slayer, but it's not supposed to be. It's more like an extra reward for killing bosses, which thematically makes sense. It's Slayer after all. It helps speed up Slayer training just a bit, and it also makes going dry on bosses feel a bit less painful, knowing you've at least got some Slayer XP along the way. I mean, what do you guys think about this idea? Put your honest opinions down in the comment section below. I'm genuinely interested to see what you guys think about offering a tiny bit of Slayer XP from, well, actually slaying bosses. So defense, I would probably put this as A, but to make a slight distinction between this and attack and strength, I'm going to put in high B tier. Obviously, defense reduces the chance of you being hit, and you can have access to better armor, but I dislike training this, as most of the time you've got to use the least damaging attack style in order to train it, which doesn't feel as good as training strength or attack. And often in RuneScape, a better offense is the best defense. After all, if the enemy's dead, it can no longer hit you. Still a strong skill though. I don't think it has quite as much love as attack and strength does. I mean, you would literally have entire accounts built around the fact that they only have one defense, you know, pures. So yeah, B tier, but a solid B tier. Range. This is going to be our first S tier skill. Just like strength and attack, range is super useful and is used at both mid-game and end-game bossing content. Most people use range to get the first fire cape after all. I did, you probably did. It's got another use as well. It's ranged. Like literally, you can attack things that are far away. Pretty useful in itself. I mean, it's handy in PvP, many PvE scenarios, and it lets you safe spot stuff. But the final reason I've put this above attack and strength is for one simple reason. When you level range, your range hit chance and damage increases. increases. Whenever you increase your attack level, it just increases the chance that you'll hit the enemy. When you level your strength level, it increases the chance that your character will hit an higher number. Well, range does both of these. It's like a buy one get one free. So yeah, for that reason, I am going to put in a tier above attack and strength. Next up on the list is magic, and again this is also going S tier, probably the ultimate S tier. I'd say a double S tier, like the SS tier. Wait, on second thoughts, that's probably not the best idea. Let's just call it S tier. I mean, it's pretty good for bossing, and it can also destroy in PvP. I think we've all got PTSD from the ice barrage sound when in the wilderness. And the reason it's above range in the S tier is because you have all the benefits of combat that range has, but you've also got access to some utility spells like teleports, alchemy, summoning thralls. You've got your binds and ice spells, and even bones to peaches. Additionally, it doesn't only increase your magic attack by unlocking access to better spells, but it also improves your magic defense. So again, it's another buy one get one free deal. You've also got a lot of different ways to train magic if you don't want to do it by combat. You can alch stuff or make mahogany planks on the lunar spellbook. Honestly guys, if you've never done this before, do it. Just do it. You'll see what I mean. It's massively AFK and makes you a lot of profit. I smashed this out from level 86 when I unlocked it all the way to 99, and I can't believe I've never done this on my previous accounts. I can't look past the benefits that Maid provides. Definitely a solid S tier. Probably the biggest S tier in the entire game. Hit points are next. There's not much to say about this one, to be honest. I mean, yeah, it's useful. If your hit points goes to 0, you're dead. But in all my years of playing RuneScape, I've never once seen anyone specifically training HP. It's sort of like a skill you passively train whilst training your other combat skills, which is fine, but it's not very exciting. So B tier. And the final combat skill, Prayer. This is again another A tier. Protection prayers are just too OP to ignore, and the stat boosting prayers like Augury, Rigor or Piety can significantly improve your DPS. It's even as small but useful prayers like your Protect item and Preserve. It's very quick to train as long as you have the cash, and even offers a more budget option if you want to train through like Ensouled Heads, or maybe using lower value bones or training in the Wilderness Chaos Altar. I mean, I don't even mind that it costs a lot of money, because it sort of makes sense that you're offering half your bank away to prove your devotion to the RuneScape gods. The reason it's not S tier, however, is because it's simply a supporting skill. I mean, it's got some cool support abilities, but magic still offers greater utility, offensive abilities, and can actually make you money when training instead of rinsing your entire bank. So yeah, A tier. Moving on to the gathering skills, we've got woodcutting. Like I've said in the intro, with the G, woodcutting's pretty useless. I mean, well, unless you like to get around Gillenor using the canoe system, that is. But I'm not going to rank skills down for this, but unless it's a skill that's genuinely amazing to train, they're unlikely to be A or S tier, like the combat skills are. I'm going to put this one in B tier, however. Number one, it's iconic. When people think of RuneScape, they usually think about clicking on a tree and waiting, for better or for worse. But woodcutting, like the Abyssal Whip, Party Hats or Gnome Child, it's pretty damn legendary, don't you think? The recent update making it so chopping trees with other people is now useful rather than being a hindrance is a move in the right direction, and I think the new forestry events keep the skill a bit more interesting, and you don't have to participate in it if you want to chop trees the regular way. It's also pretty AFK, which I know a lot of people, myself included, value, but let's not delude ourselves. You're still only clicking on a tree every minute or so to earn what equates to gaining only pennies per hour. It's one of the fastest gathering skills, however, so I think B is a fair placement. Mining, on the other hand, is God, isn't it mind-numbing? It's so slow. It's not too AFK compared to fishing or woodcutting, except for maybe shooting stars, but even there the XP per hour is very, very low. The saving grace is that there's quite a few mini-games to train mining, and there's plenty of collection log slots to go for, which can break up the monotonous grind in the same place all the time. So if you want a guide on how to collect all the skilling collection log slots in game whilst leveling, please click on the link in the description. I've got a guide doing just that. Problem though with the mini games in mining is that the XP is usually still quite slow, and I think a lot of them's pretty damn bad. The volcanic mine can do one. There's like one world that actually has players doing it if you want to form a team, and if they've already started the game, when you log in you've got to wait like 10 or 15 minutes until they finish. Then you've got to enter all at the same time within 30 seconds before the new game starts, so you better not turn away from the screen for too long in case you miss the start of the next game. The XP's not too bad for mining, but did I mention you can actually die here as well? It's quite a dangerous place and not engaging enough to want to AFK, but too risky if you do decide to AFK. So you also need to make sure you're out of the volcanic mine before it collapses, as it'll literally one-shot you and you get 0 XP for the entire round, or points. It's not the most pleasant experience. Zalcano update is pretty cool, where you now can opt for more XP but still get a chance of rare drops. That is definitely a good thing. And the Motherlode mine gets a lot of hate, but honestly I don't think it's too bad. But again, it's just too slow to train here. And if you do need ores and you're not an Iron Man, again, GE, so it doesn't really offer too much use in game either. But I think this belongs in D tier. It's just way too slow. The mini games are not brilliant, and yeah, I think D tier is a fair tier for this one. Fishing, I think this one belongs between woodcutting and mining. On the tier list, but also in terms of XP gain per hour. I mean, it's more AFK than mining, except for maybe shooting stars, and it's probably on par with woodcutting for AFK ability, but with less XP per hour. Temporus is pretty cool, but yeah, not much more to say on this one. I think it fits nicely in C tier between woodcutting and mining. Hunter, especially since the new Hunter Rumors update, there's just so many different ways to train it. The XP is pretty decent, and it can be trained a regular way through trapping animals or by an approach similar to farming with the birdhouse runs. There's also free pets that can be obtained from this one, making it the non-combat skill with the most pets to collect in the game. Look at this as a good or bad thing. I mean, I haven't got any of the pets yet, so I see this as 3 long grinds and I have to do instead of 1, but that's just me. I think this goes into B tier. It's decent XP and can make you cash, but many of the methods are a bit too click intensive for my liking. It also doesn't get any bonus points for providing a lot of use, because, well, what use does it have? I can't think of any, to be honest. Maybe you guys can, but I can't think of any actual use it has other than leveling it for the sake of getting the skill cape. So yeah, but I think it belongs in a B tier. Okay, so now we've got all the remaining skills. Farming, I've got a love-hate relationship with this one. I mean, I love the concept of it, it's great, but I used to love training farming as a noob by going around all the allotments, hot patches, bush plots, etc. and putting all sorts of crops in, even getting a nice little crop rotation going. But in reality, the best way to train this is just doing tree runs, whether it's regular trees, fruit trees, and finally hardwood trees. The farming contracts did sort of address this issue by getting you to plant different types of crops, and the Asporic boss is a cool addition. The Thai farm can do one as well, although that's just grindy and not great XP. You might as well just do tree runs. The spirit tree patches are genuinely useful though, providing you with an actual in-game benefit for getting around the map, and farming is actually the fastest skill to train to level 99 per in-game minutes spent of training that skill. So I do think it has more potential though to get it up to an A tier, but I think B tier is another fair placement for this one. Fire making. I said I wasn't going to penalise useless skills, but reward useful ones in this tier list. I'm making an exception for fire making because, let's face it, this one's pretty fucking useless. The only exceptions are the 2 minigames, Shades of Morton and Winter Todd, which, as I've just said, are minigames. Trading the skill by itself while lighting fires provides absolutely 0 benefit to the player in game. If you're cooking, you may as well just cook on a range, as there's a lower chance of burning food on them anyway. The only use I can think of is it's sort of useful early on if you want to create a fire near a fishing spot, if you want to cook fish on the go, if for some reason there's no range or bank nearby, but that's clutching at straws. I honestly wouldn't mind if this skill got updated to provide some actual benefits to the player. The only reason it's not further down the tier list is simply because Wintertod can give Ironman some resources and main account some decent GP, and it's fairly fast to train, but other than that it can't go any higher than a C tier for that reason, probably a low C tier. Cooking, it's another pretty iconic skill, but also pretty fucking useless as well. The saving grace is that you can make some sort of money from it, maybe, depending on what you cook, but not too much. But more importantly, it is super fast to train and AFK. It's usually one of the first skills people decide to max because of this. Higher cooking levels mean a lower chance of burning fish, but the Grand Exchange has a 0 chance of burning fish, so I know which one I'd choose. I don't want to be too mean to this skill, as it is an easy one to max and provide some decent AFK time, so this is going in a high C tier. Fletching, it's going here as well. I'll just move this one here, pretty much for the same reasons. It's fast to train and can also be trained whilst doing other skills using stackables. So now we've got thieving. I personally put this in C tier because although it's quite fast, I dislike training it. It's very click intensive and it's annoying when you fail to steal something, get whacked over the head and take damage. It can however give you a decent amount of cash depending on how you train it, and I understand that the rest of the community probably has a more favourable opinion of thieving than I do. It's also pretty fast to train, so I'll put this as the highest C tier, almost in B tier. Agility, again, very hated skill, but I probably enjoy this more than thieving, funnily enough. The problem is it's just so slow to train and you'd feel less pain going on an actual jog. The Hallowed Sepulchre is what brings it up to a C tier in my opinion, as it's very good cash an hour and I actually really do like it. I think it's quite fun. I mean, I'd like it a lot more if it didn't take me 2 weeks to gain just one level, but what also brings it up to a C tier is it also actually has a use. The higher your agility level, the slower your run energy depletes, so this can technically also help with bossing, making an argument that it is actually a combat skill. Yeah, I'm clutching at straws with that one, but there's also shortcuts out in RuneScape, most of which are pretty pointless and don't save you much time, but a few of them like the Calfight Queen Lair or Tavley Dungeon shortcuts can shave off a lot of time. I'm going to put this in lower C tier. I don't think people would like it too much if I put it up to a B tier, so yeah, lower C tier. Crafting and smithing, both processing skills and can be done either bank standing in the case of crafting or within a few yards from the bank at a furnace. Most methods are AFK and smithing even has a mini game, so both can make money or can cost a lot of money if you want to speed up the skill, so you got that flexibility there. I prefer smithing but a lot seem to prefer crafting, each to their own. Crafting also offers quite a range of training methods, they're not overly long to train and both have AFK options. I never get too excited about these skills. I mean, if these skills were a spice they'd be flour. I'm going to put them both into C tier. Herb Law, it costs a lot to train and is semi-AFK, but most potions can only be made using 14 per inventory instead of 28 because you require the secondary and primary ingredient. In RuneScape 3 you can make overload potions, which are powerful potions that you can only obtain through Herb Law. In Old School RuneScape this is not the case, meaning that again it's another useless skill. The benefits however is that the skill is at least fast to train, and apparently the new mixology minigame is pretty cool and offers new rewards and can actually make you some money. So I've not tried that yet, but I'll take people's word for it. I'd go C tier overall. By the way, I am unaware whether or not the new Mastering Mixology offers actual in-game benefits that you can't obtain by doing regular Herb Law. I'm not sure. I'll really have to try this minigame out soon. I am looking forward to it. And finally, construction. I'm placing this in A tier. Your house is such a valuable asset in Old School RuneScape. You can even teleport here, and if you die by poison when teleporting, it's considered a safe death as you're in your house. You can change your spellbook, teleport using portals or jewellery, replenish your health or prayer points, display all your awesome pets and achievements, see the locations of shooting stars, store stuff, making stat boosting soups, train prayer, and many more benefits. Last but not least, you can also decorate it, which I think is quite cool. But the only problem is that there's only preset slots available to build stuff in your house. I feel it's got a lot of unused potential here, and I think there's a lot of cool changes they could possibly make to player-owned houses, but I'll save that for another video. It also cost a bloody fortune, possibly the most expensive 99 in the entire game, with only a couple other budget options such as Mahogany Homes, which is still fairly fast compared to mining or agility. All forms of training constructions are very click intensive and boring to train in my opinion. For this reason, it's not S tier. It definitely has the potential to become S tier though with the right updates. And that's it for all the skills in this video. I'll be genuinely interested to see what you guys think to this tier list placement in the comment section below. Would you have placed some of them in completely different categories? Did I praise construction too much and hate on mining a little too harshly? Tell me down below. If you watched it all the way to the end, please consider subscribing. I'll really appreciate it. And until next time, I'll see you later.